I'm about to show you 5 secret tips that will instantly improve your Madden game overnight. And once you learn these 5 tips, you're going to wonder how you ever played the game without them. And I'm about to break them all down into detail, but really quickly I want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is a all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence to run your business. I'll tell you more about them and how to use my special offer later in the video. Number 1 on the list is the stop and go. Probably the most difficult thing to learn on the list, but it's not that difficult if you just practice it for a little bit. Notice how with my running back, I'm actually stopping on a dime and then getting back up to top speed. This is a trick that a lot of advanced players use, but to be truthful, it's not the most advanced thing in the world to learn. It just takes a little bit of practice. Basically, what you want to do in the open field is when you want to stop and go, you want to first remove your finger quickly from the sprint button, which is the right trigger or the R2 button. You need to be off of this for it to work properly. And then you want to lightly pull back on the left joystick, which is how you steer your player. So if you're steering your player up the field, you're going to be holding it all the way forward. When you let go of the right trigger, you want to pull that left joystick back about halfway. You do not want to pull it all the way back, and that's probably the toughest part to learn, is the right amount to pull it back. It's almost like a slight little flick backward, and when you do this and then instantly go forward, you create a stop and go. Now this helps a lot versus human opponents, because human opponents click on and they try to run to meet you at the spot, and if you stop and go, they're going to run past you, they're going to dive, and they're going to miss tackles over and over and over. This can turn literally a 1-yard play into a touchdown. When you get really advanced, you can make multiple people miss in the same play, but even if you can just make one person miss on a play, you're creating extra yards for yourself every time. Again, make sure you take your finger off the sprint button completely and you just slightly pull back on the left joystick and then immediately go forward after that. You don't want to stop too long. It literally has to be a split second. It's literally stop and then go. Now, the best way to learn this, in my opinion, is just go into practice mode, set it to offense only so there's no defense on the field, just to get familiar with the muscle memory of how to do it, how to actually pull back on the left stick at the appropriate amount so you're not doing it too much or too little. This way you have nothing but open field to just practice on, and honestly, if you do this for 10 to 20 minutes, you should get it down pretty good, and then you can take it into the game. There's going to be some growing pains with it, but once you do this over and over, get that repetition in, you are going to become a master at making people miss in the open field. Now really quickly, if you're enjoying this video and getting a lot of help out of it, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon so that you're notified when these types of videos drop in the future. Now number 2 on the list is a really big secret that not a lot of people know about, and it's how to tell if your opponent is running the ball. We call this the run pass tell. So I want you to notice something here. I am in a run play. I'm in a stretch call here. Now if I move my cursor, which normally we would move this cursor to maybe motion somebody, right? Notice how I can put my cursor on my offensive lineman. You can see I have my cursor on Armstead. Now I have it on Pete. Now I have it on Ramczyk. Now I have it on Ruiz. Now if I go to a pass play, I can now not put that cursor on offensive lineman. Notice how it skips from Cook to Breeze to Michael Thomas. I cannot get on my offensive lineman. Try this in practice mode for yourself if you don't believe me. Now, why is this important? Well, in Madden, when you're playing online games, about 80% of people, for some reason, don't know why, but they will put their cursor on their offensive lineman when they run the ball, either just by force of habit, not realizing that they're doing it. Sometimes it just happens by accident, but they tend to do this when they're running the ball. Now, if you're on the defensive side of the ball in the game, you're not going to see their actual cursor, but you will see the name of the offensive lineman. So right here, if my cursor is on Armstead, if I was on defense in an online game, I wouldn't see the actual cursor, but I would see the name Armstead underneath them, which would let me know that my opponent has his cursor on him. And if it was on Andres Pete, same thing, wouldn't see the cursor, but I would see the name Pete underneath him. That's how I would know he's running the ball. In which case, now I can run commit by pressing the RB or R1 button, and then you can see up here on the screen, we have different options that we can try to guess which way the run is going. Now, this is the only tricky part to this, because you want to kind of feel your opponent out a little bit, because if he's running a stretch, you want to run commit to the side that you think the stretch is going to, which will normally be the strong side or the side with the tight end or multiple tight ends. Now, if it's any other type of run, like if it's in shotgun, you can just commit to running up the middle, because typically they're going to be running an inside zone. So now if I run commit, well, that's going to make it a lot harder for somebody to run the ball. So make sure when you're in online games from now on, 2 things. Number 1, make note of the cursor. If you see the cursor under the offensive lineman, you know your opponent's running the ball. And on the flip side, when you're running the ball, make sure that your cursor is not on the offensive lineman, even just for a second, because if you switch it to them for a second and switch it back, some people will still assume you're running the ball, and if you are, they will run commit. So that's 2 things kind of in one there. Make sure to know that. It'll actually help you a lot in Madden. Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Like I said in the beginning of the video, from websites to online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Look, maybe y'all didn't know this about me, but I've actually created a few websites in my day. I used to own a music blog and various other sites before I did YouTube, and believe me when I tell you, building a website is very tedious and it's annoying. But that's why I love Squarespace, because with them it isn't. They make everything very streamlined for you. They have templates that you can customize to fit your needs. Their traffic overview gives you access to all the analytics that you need to grow your website, and I love the fact that they make it extremely easy to embed videos, which for me is great because I was able to create a portfolio for my YouTube channel in no time at all. Head on over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/EricRayweather to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. Tip number 3 is using the new Audible feature to create annoying mismatches for your opponent. Now, what the new Audible feature does is it allows you to audible within personnel even if you sub players in, which is a really big benefit when you have a guy like an Alvin Kamara or a Christian McCaffrey type running back. So what a lot of people do is they might come out in a trip set and they will put Kamara, for example, at wide receiver. So I can do this by pressing the RB or R1 button when I'm at the formation, and then I can just scroll around and say, hey, I want to put Alvin Kamara in the slot here. I would select Traquan Smith by pressing A or X, and then I select Alvin Kamara. Now he's at wide receiver. But I want you to notice why this is so powerful. So the reason this is powerful is because we still have a great passing formation here that you really have to match personnel to stop, especially with man defense being so good. You need to come out in some type of a nickel or maybe a dime defense to have good numbers on the field to defend this, because even though we do have a running back at receiver, it's a good receiving back. We're not hurting. It's not as if we only have 2 receivers on the field. It's like we still have 3 receivers on the field because of how good he is. So what we can do is have great passing plays still that need to be defended with passing sets. You can see here, we're just going down the field for a huge gain. But here's where the annoying thing comes in. Because we've changed our personnel to 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 tight end, well, now if we pull up our audibles by pressing the X or square button, we can see that we can audible into heavier packages like strong H slot, strong HY off, I form pro. So for example here, we're going to audible to the stretch in the strong H slot. And now what happens is we're going to a heavier set. Our opponent is still in a nickel or a dime to defend those heavy passing sets. Now they don't have good size on the field or more people in the box to defend the run, and now that makes it super easy for us to run the ball for easy 5+ yard gains, sometimes even more than that. So make sure you are taking advantage of this audible feature, because at the end of the day, this audible feature makes it super hard for your opponent because he doesn't know if he has to come out in a heavy set or a passing set, and you have the advantage every time, because whichever one he comes out in, if he comes out in the heavy run set, you can just pass the ball. If he comes out in the heavy pass set, you audible down to the run and really make it hard for him. Tip number 4 is how to blow up all of the inside zone runs from shotgun, which are some of the most annoying runs in the game to stop. And you can do this out of pass defense. Now, I find that it works best out of a set that has 4 down linemen. Big nickel over G is one of my favorite sets to do this out of, and I'll have up on the screen all of the playbooks that do have the big nickel over G in it. Now, you can really pick any play for the most part. Usually any of the base plays will work, whether you want to run man or zone. We're just going to come out in a cover 3 for this example. Now, all you want to do is you want to shift the line to the side of the running back. So if the running back's on the right, we're going to shift the line to the right by pressing left on the D-pad and then right on the left stick. And then the only other thing we need to do is crash our defensive line out, because that's going to create a bigger lane for us to run through. To crash the defensive line out, we go left on the D-pad and then up on the right stick. Now, you can jump on a linebacker, you can bring a safety down here, whatever you want to do, but I'm just going to get on the linebacker here to show you what happens. There's going to be this parting of the Red Sea that you can just run right through just like that. Again, you simply want to just slide the defensive line to the side of the running back and then crash the defensive line out. You also do want to be standing on your user on the same side where the running back is, pretty much lined up directly over him. It's just going to make it a little bit easier for you. And again, it's going to part like the Red Sea. You come through, and what's good is you have a free open hit. So you lay that hit stick, you can cause a lot of fumbles. Okay, so the running back's on the left this time, which means we're going to slide the D-line to the left, which is left on the D-pad, left on the left stick, and then we're going to crash out left on the D-pad, up on the right stick. Again, I find it's better to just kind of stand right over the running back. And when the ball is snapped, it's going to be a red C parting for you to run through and hit them in the backfield. So you can set up your defense however you want, man, zone. Just make sure you're shifting the line and crashing them out and getting your user in position so if they do run the ball, you can blow it up. If they don't run the ball, then you simply just drop back into coverage anyway. Tip number 5 is a secret to giving you better pass rush out of your defensive line. Now this has actually been in the game for some years, but a lot of people still don't know about it. When you pass commit, it actually makes your defensive line block shed quicker, or at least it seems that way. And we were just talking about run committing a little bit ago when the offense does tip their hand that they're running the ball, but if they don't do that, or if it's an obvious passing down like 3rd and long, you actually are better off pass committing because it's not going to hurt your defense, but from all that we've gathered, it does seem to help your defensive line block shed quicker. To do this, you press the RB or R1 button and then go up on the right stick. That is going to set your defense to pass commit, and you will notice typically the defensive line is going to get off their blocks super quick, and it's going to give the QB less time to pass. Maybe it's a myth, but it's something a lot of people believe in. I certainly believe in it through my years of playing the game, so try it out for yourself. Again, it can't hurt you. All it could do is just make your defense better. It can't make it any worse. I hope you enjoyed today's content and found it helpful. Check out some of these other videos right here on the screen, and as always, I will see you guys next time.